Welcome to Graywood Gardening. It is the beginning of June, and this is the weekend that we had planned to do the majority of planting in the butterfly garden. Unfortunately, it is hot, and the forecast says it's going to be 90 or near 90s for the next several days. So we have decided that discretion is the better part of valor. We're going to put off planting out the butterfly garden until the following weekend, when it should be a little bit cooler, according to the forecast. And this weekend we're just going to do some simple chores here in the veggie garden, starting with cutting back this hugely overgrown oregano. It looks like it's starting to get ready to bloom, and you really want to harvest it to dry it before it blooms. So that's what I'm doing right now. Before we get to the rest of the little veggie garden chores though, I first want you to see how beautiful the iris is doing in the cottage garden. Take a look. The iris in the cottage garden are at their absolute peak right now. Every single one of these bearded iris is blooming, and every single one of them looks amazing. And also, just being anywhere near the cottage garden, you can smell the fragrance of these iris. It's just incredible. We have a huge variety of iris. These were all planted in, I want to say 3 years ago, so this is their 4th growing season. They're doing phenomenal. In fact, they're doing so phenomenal, I'm going to need to start lifting them and dividing them this year. So I think this year is the best and densest these iris are going to look. I mean, just look at this right here, this sort of pink and lavender one. This is one plant, and this has got to be, what, like 24 blossoms on this one plant. Every single one of these iris in the cottage garden came from, we ordered them from a site called Shriner's Iris Garden. I will put a link to them below. And you actually normally want to plant iris in Minnesota. We usually want to plant iris in August, which makes right now a really great time to order iris online, and then they'll just ship them to you in August or late July when it's an appropriate time to plant them. But right now, I am just really enjoying the stunning impact that these are making on the cottage garden. It feels like being at a florist. It's pretty exciting. These are the potatoes that we're growing in pots, and they are going gangbusters because I think these were only planted out 3 weeks ago. And so when we planted them, Mrs. Graywood just filled the pots only about half full of potting soil. And so now that they've grown up over the tops, we need to fill this in all the way up to the top with potting soil. The more soil you have all along that stem is where the potato tubers will form. And so actually we probably should have done this much earlier, just as these things started to grow up, but these have been growing so incredibly fast. But better now than never. It is worth noting that as with anything you grow in pots, you need to use some form of potting soil and not garden soil, not ground soil, not dirt. The potting soil will have something like perlite, vermiculite, something in there that allows for much better drainage than you'll get from dirt from the ground. Okay, and that should just about do it. Now we just need to water these in, and then all we have to do is keep them watered, keep them fertilized, and we should, at the end of summer, have a whole ton of potatoes this year. All right, this is the asparagus patch, and the asparagus is doing great. They are well over 6 feet tall. We planted these crowns last spring, so this is their 2nd year in the garden. They're growing great and tall and strong, but some of these really long, tall asparagus stalks are starting to flop over in the wind and in the rain. Not that we've had a lot of rain lately. So I think I'm going to try to rig up something with some posts and twine to just hold them up on this side to stop them from flopping over. And I think that should do it. Pretty simple, but it should be effective. We did have some of these flopping over last year and we just cut them off, and obviously the asparagus did fine. But I'd like to keep all of this on and think this is probably going to do the trick. So in addition to the iris at peak bloom, we also have the peonies now at peak bloom, and they are looking fantastic and smelling fantastic. These ones we planted 3 years ago, and they've been doing pretty great up here. All right, I think that is everything I have for you on this video. Next time we are definitely planting out the butterfly garden no matter what. If you have any questions for me, you can leave a comment below or email me at brian@graywoodgardening.com. And until next time, happy gardening.